For early access plus exclusive content, facilitated discussions, live one-on-one Q&As, and more, become a patron at patreon.com/BrucePoinsett.
I'm thinking about the people who are not on this call, who won't be on this call, and are impacted by it, and who don't know. And so how do we reach those people so that they know what's happening to them before it's done?
Well, I mean, it sounds like... Go ahead.
Something else to throw into the equation. You talk about the New Deal, changes in lifestyles and what have you. I don't know how many of you have ever or knew about the underlying story with Tesla. As we evolved from gasoline vehicles to electric vehicles, it brought on a whole new thing about how do you build and who builds a plant to produce these vehicles, okay? When it's all said and done, who trains the people that are going to be working in these facilities? It was a whole new culture that we weren't, used to, but in actuality, it was part of a New Deal because it created something we didn't have before that provided lots of jobs. There's something, we have to remember, we'll be seeing more of that as we progress, as we change over. We'll be seeing more of those kinds of stories. And that's where the investors turn around and start making a lot of money.
Also, the more that you ask people, like it's called deep canvassing, the more you ask people, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? Like, what do you want for your life? Like, and ask them and get their opinion and their thoughts and their ideas. I think they become more invested. And it also helps to prevent misunderstandings. A lot of people think they know something, mostly because of the narratives that are thrown at them through whatever narrow thing they use to gather information. And the more you just ask questions, the more they begin to question their own selves. And then the more that you say, and the question that's actually very powerful, it's more powerful, I read this in the Times a couple of weeks ago, is, so how would that work? Like when they're saying something, when they're against something or opposed to something and they want to do something else, which is often just something they've heard that's been parroted to them, you could say, okay, so in a very genuine way, you say, okay, so how would that play out for you? What would that look like for you? And then like Bruce, you said, finding that commonality. So we're talking about the same thing, or this could also work out if we take your idea. But I think buy-in also requires believing that people have opinions and they have thoughts and that they get to be invested, like this is their life. Like I think, Willie, the thing you're saying is very, very powerful, is that I think we often think of people as you guys just said, as a monolith, but I think we also think that like it's time for us to start thinking of this as being our lives. Like these are our lives. Like, and we only have one, and we have to live it, and we have to think, what do I want to see? What would I like? And so I think investing time in learning people's thoughts and ideas is an important part of the process.
And that's really why, oh, sorry.
It's time consuming and it's exhausting. It's not efficient.
And that's why I like meetings. Even now that we can't have in-person meetings, because in-person meetings would be best. But I like meetings because then people feel heard. In fact, people are heard. And so it may be that the final plan of action is not their first one, but that they were part of the planning process, of the choosing process, that they were heard, makes them invested and committed, right? And so there's a lot of listening. And as Catherine just said, so what would that look like? So how would that work? That sounds like a great idea. And how would that work? And having everybody in the space exchanging these ideas, it's really powerful. It's a lot of listening, being prepared to listen to what people want for their lives. People generally feel that they're not heard, that the organization or the community doesn't care. So even just the mere fact of asking people, what do you want, and listening to them and hearing them, that is powerful.